I was part of the team, so to speak, that wrote the first grant that started the first research institute within the School of Social Work. I was a graduate student. I was a second-year graduate student. And this opportunity came up to write for a regional research center. And so John Longris, who was on the faculty, really did most of the writing. And as a graduate student, I ran around and got letters and things for the appendices. We got the grant, and I promptly went off and had a baby and didn't do anything with the RRI for a good year at least.
That the original notification came in 1972, and then they pressed us to do in youth development and delinquency prevention. So the school hired Ed Meck, and he became the director. But Ed returned to Arizona the second year. It was obvious that somebody was needed, and there was no one else on the faculty who had the kind of research experience that I had, and so it made sense.
Joan Shireman was the chair of the search committee. Joan and Charles put together a dinner. They brought together 2 direct appointments from the governor, 1 major administrative official in Multnomah County. The 3 of them had been prepared. Charles and Joan gave them copies of my materials. We spent the evening talking about how the work that I was doing would fit into each of their organizations. Not because I pushed the evening that way, but that's where they wanted to go. The willingness of local and state government to collaborate with research and to use the products of the research, it blew my mind.
I was on sabbatical in England. I was in London, and Dean Ward called me in the middle of the night, not realizing what the time change was, to talk to me about whether or not I'd be willing to fill in for part of what Bill had been doing. We shared the position for a little while, and then I pretty much took it over.
The Regional Research Institute directors often move towards university roles, and like Bill Fireherm, Nancy Korloff was transitioning to the research office as the Associate Vice Provost for Research. And in association with Nancy's transition, I became the interim. There was a national recruitment, and I was hired.
Everybody's observation and perspective was valued. That meant to me that there was this special emphasis on empowerment, and they actually meant it.
Our commitment to really working with and really side by side with underserved and marginalized groups, and to identify approaches and try to advocate for change, to use research to advocate for change with our partners and with folks in the community who typically don't have voice to improve conditions. I think that that's really unique to research institutes.
It was a group of researchers working together and who loved research, and that's what they did, and that's what they did well.
You know, the collegiality is really very special here.
It's not a heavily vertical organization. Everybody deferred to Barbara because she was an expert. People deferred to Nancy because of expertise. I couldn't detect deferring because of somebody's position. And to me, that was really, really critical, really important.
What's been really exciting about the last few years is that we've been able to put forward and start testing really some of the first interventions to actually try something and see if it makes it better.
I've never seen the degree of collaboration and cooperation that I witnessed, when a major proposal was ready to be produced. It was done out of a sense of collective commitment and shared values.
And it's made a contribution, I think, to the school. It did something the school couldn't otherwise have done.
The RRI was had a really solid foundation of of both values and infrastructure, which is really unusual, and is still we're still the gem at PSU.
How did technology change during your time here?
In '72, we wrote all of our grants on the typewriter.
Yeah, when I did my dissertation, the computer was as big as this room.
Derry Shell and I crawled around on our hands and knees. We drilled holes through walls where we shouldn't have, and we created a network. We had literally a cable circle, and we had to make sure that every computer was connected to it and that all of them functioned, because if any one of them broke, the network would break.
The first mini personal computer we used was an '81. They were this big and they weighed 26 pounds.
I can remember the first cell phone. I thought it was really cool when I was the director of the Institute and I got a Motorola cell phone. It was the size, shape, and weight of a common household brick.
And when you wanted to print, everybody else had to stop, save whatever they were doing. And then you would say, okay, I'm going to print. Everybody would save what they were doing, and then you would print. And then when you were finished printing, they could go back and work on their computers.
Well, when I got here, we were using abacuses.
Oh, it's so much fun to think about.